We have multiple updates on the injury status of key New York Islanders players to discuss in this episode of Islanders Digest. And let me tell you, the injury status of these players will change everything as the Islanders try to make a push to make the playoffs. We're going to talk about all that and more, but before we get into that, be sure to subscribe to the channel to be one of our first 100 subscribers. Our goal is to reach 100 subscribers, so be sure to subscribe to be a part of that. Now, let's get right into injury news, and for the first time in a long time, and for the first time in the season almost, it feels like, the Islanders have some positive injury news. Today, as you can see, the Islanders tweeted, Scott Mayfield and Ryan Pulock were participants at practice. I will note, Ryan Pulock is wearing the orange no-contact jersey, but still, it is an encouraging sign to see these two players back on the ice. In fact, Scott Mayfield has made it very clear, although coach hasn't cleared him yet, that he is ready to go once the Four Nations face-off is over and the Islanders get back to work. This is obviously great news for the New York Islanders. The New York Islanders have seemed to be bleeding defensemen all season. Scott Mayfield and Ryan Pulock are two of the team's most physical defensemen behind Romanov. This is going to be a great get. Now, the only part of this news that is not so positive is while we received updates on these two players, and we also received an update that Hudson Fasching will also be returning from injury. He was a participant at practice. That is all great news. However, we have not gotten an update on Matt Barzal, Noah Dobson, Varlamov. These are all still players who are going to be injured when the Islanders get back. Now, it was expected that Dobson and Barzal were going to still be injured at the end of this break. In fact, they will likely not get Barzal for another 4 weeks, and that is if his recovery goes as expected. However, the concerning thing for Islanders fans is there's still no update on Varlamov. Varlamov, as you know, earlier in the season was supposed to be out week to week months ago. That week to week then got pushed to out indefinitely, and we have not heard an update on his condition since. We don't know what injured him, like what's going on. We've gotten no update from Lou Lamoriello at all on Varlamov, which is very concerning, but at least they still have Sorokin, and now that they're finally getting their defense back, even though the Islanders are going to be missing a scorer, with these two defensemen, the Islanders definitely do have a better chance at pushing for the playoffs. Now, the one thing that this does bring up is who is going to be left out of the lineup. And right now, we're going to talk about the defensive pairs that were at practice. Today, the Islanders rolled out the pairs of Romanov and D'Angelo, which is pretty interesting, honestly. Then we're going to have Perunovich and Pulock, Pelech and Mayfield, and then Chalonsky and Bovequist as the 7th and 8th guys. Those two guys would not be in the lineup for the team. So the question really is, who is going to be sent down for the New York Islanders? Honestly, I don't think this is that much of a question. I think it is very clear that Dennis Chalonsky will be the defenseman sent down. I do feel bad for Chalonsky. He has played pretty well, at times at least. He's had to do a lot more than you would typically ask a pretty much 8th defenseman. Although he was a 7th defenseman for part of the season, he really is an 8th or 9th defenseman. So for him to play in so many games, he has done his job at times. He has had a few goals. But let's face it, Patrick Waugh does not trust Chalonsky at all. In the most recent game, he played under 3 minutes. And at that point, and if you cannot trust a defenseman to play 3 minutes in a National Hockey League game, then there really is no point in holding on to him. My guess is Chalonsky gets sat down on waivers. You can definitely see from the ice time that Patrick Waugh definitely trusts other defensemen in the system more. As we go back to look at it, these pairs are really interesting to me. Romanov and D'Angelo, I think it's clear of the 3 defensemen that Lou has picked up to replace defensemen while injured. D'Angelo is definitely safe in the lineup. I'm really curious to see which of Perunovich and Bovequist end up staying in the lineup beyond that. These are both players that the Islanders picked up while injured, but they also did add something to the lineup that they did not previously have. The Islanders are not a very good team when it comes to moving the puck out of the zone really quickly, and these defensemen have both shown they can do it really well. It looks like Perunovich is going to get the first shot to stay in the lineup, but I have no doubt that if he stumbles a bit, Patrick Waugh will attempt to put Bovequist in the lineup instead. So let's really talk about these two players and decide which player really belongs better on the Islanders long term. We're going to start with We're going to start here with Peronovic's stats. He's only played 7 games for the Islanders so far. Sample size is small, but honestly, I would say he has played pretty well, and he's definitely deserved the first crack at keeping a spot in the lineup. It is going to get really interesting to see what happens with this lineup once Noah Dobson does return from injury, because this is definitely a player who has deserved his ice time. He's playing 19 minutes a game on the New York Islanders. Again, only 3 points so far, but points can be deceiving. This is a player who has definitely earned his ice time, who is moving the puck fast, and if you watch the games, he's passing the eye test. A lot of Islanders fans are really excited about this player. They got him for only a 5th round pick, but clearly there's a lot of potential there. He did have a lot of good games in college, Hobey Baker winner. Clearly this is a player with a lot of talent who did not pan out for St. Louis, and I think Islander fans are really hoping he does stick with the team. As I'm hoping, he definitely deserves a spot for now. We'll see what happens when Noah Dobson gets back. Now let's talk a little bit about Bovequist, the guy who's looking like he's going to be the odd man out. He's also played pretty well for the New York Islanders. As you can see here, he's played 5 games so far. Only 1 goal, but he has played really well. But as you can see, he's playing 16 minutes a game, so obviously Patrick Roy does not trust him as much as Peronovic. We will see what happens with Boquist. I think it would definitely be a shame if the Islanders send this player down or if they can't keep him. They did get him off waivers, so they didn't really pay anything for him except for his salary, which isn't much. He has a league minimum deal. But I definitely think it would be unfortunate for the Islanders to let this player go. Years ago, and you really can't equate a player's value to where they were drafted. It will be deceiving. You have to value what the player is when you have them. But Bovequist was an 8th overall pick, picked before Noah Dobson in that super deep defensive draft. A lot of fans were curious to see if he could potentially turn into that player he once was touted to be when he was drafted with the Islanders. If I have to make an honest prediction here, I think eventually Bovequist is going to be moved away from the New York Islanders. Either he's just going to finish this season and then that's going to be it, or they're going to have to move him or even send him down to waivers. I think out of the players they have, once Noah Dobson comes back, I definitely think he's the odd man out when you compare him to Peronovic. That is, unless the Islanders move Noah Dobson, that's definitely another option. But no matter what happens, the Islanders right now desperately needed these defensemen. They were low on defensemen, but as Ryan Pulock is now healthy, he's going to make a huge impact in the lineup. Scott Mayfield, while some people might not love him, a big, strong defenseman like that, he is obviously going to be in the lineup every single night. He's also been pretty good when healthy this season. I don't see any way he's not going to make the lineup. So while the Islanders have had a lot of injured defensemen throughout this season, we're now getting to the point where they're getting healthy, and they're going to have to make a decision on who they keep. Once Noah Dobson gets back, one of these defensemen is going to have to lead the lineup, and I sadly think that defenseman is going to have to be Adam Bovequist. Again, I think he has done a great job for the team, but again, if you look at the Islanders' defense, they have a lot of talent on defense. You have Alex Romanov is obviously an incredible defenseman, going to get a huge extension at the end of the season. Tony DeAngelo, a lot of people, including myself, were really concerned when the Islanders signed him from the KHL. He has been a huge part of this team, and honestly, even when Noah Dobson gets back, he's probably going to hold that spot on the power play until at least Noah Dobson earns it back from him. Peronovic, again, he's been really solid in the few games he has played so far. I don't think he's been as good on the power play, but again, Peronovic is also a younger player. Same as Bovequist. Peronovic is only 26 years old, a bit older, but I just think he's showing a bit more potential than Bovequist right now. And as you can see with the pairs in practice, that is definitely the way Patrick Roy is leaning right now. But as we've seen, things can change with Patrick Roy. If you play well, he will reward you, and if you do not play so well, he will punish you. So especially if Noah Dobson is going to be out for a few more weeks, I definitely think Adam Bovequist is going to get the chance to get back into the lineup. Hopefully it is not because of another injury. The Islanders have had enough defensive injuries, but just based on the way the teams are practicing, the way that Pulock is in the top 6 practicing, I'm going to assume he is also going to be back when the season resumes, which is great news for the Islanders. If they are going to make the playoffs, these defensemen are going to have to be on the top of their game. There is no more room for error. Earlier on this season, the Islanders were kind of in a mode where they were just waiting for Matt Barzal. They cannot do that anymore. If they are going to want to make the playoffs, they are going to have to win games. And being that Matt Barzal is out, they are going to have to win games defensively. And defensive games are won by players like Ryan Pulock and Scott Mayfield. So it is great to have them back. With that being said, let me know which of the players do you think should be left out of the lineup when teams are healthy? When the team is back to full strength, who do you think it is who should sit? Should it be Tony DeAngelo? Should it be Adam Bovequist? Or should it be Scott Pronovich? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let's go Islanders. And again, don't forget to subscribe for more Islanders content. Thanks for watching.